Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Pies Nation podcast, where the pies are hot and the drinks are cold. I'm Nicholas Sacco, your host for this week's episode 11 of season 5, or episode 124. If you're counting from the beginning, we complete the Sydney double with a comprehensive 65-point victory over the Giants. It's our 5th win on the trot, and we're on top of the ladder. We continue to stake our claim as a side to take seriously in 2023. We dive deep into what made us so dominant against GWS, talk plenty of positivity in AskPiesNation, and get on the line with our next guest, the crowd winner. And it is a full slate in the studio today. Jack, Luke, and Marcus all joining my good self. Fantastic to have us all on when we're going so well. Marcus, welcome back.
Thank you, Nico. Great to be back. All four of us for the first time this season.
Definitely this year, yeah.
It feels like an eternity, boys,
has.
since we've been able to lock horns and dissect the pies, and we're looking pretty hot right now. I'm pretty happy.
Absolutely. And speaking of things that are just going through the roof, that shirt, Lukey, is just doing things incredible to see. The merch getting, give me more. And you got the Dacos cup as well. Very nice.
Yes, so you can get some Pies Nation merch at our link on Instagram,
Straight
Facebook,
off the bat.
Twitter, YouTube, everywhere. Where else are we, Nico? TikTok now.
Everywhere.
TikTok
going
is
nuts on TikTok.
Absolutely blowing up. Marcus has gone viral on there.
Have I?
I think it was your video with your face on the cover. One of them
Mate,
had a lot of
going
views there.
nuts.
So
Actually, should shout out Nathan Murphy. I think that's the one that's getting the most views.
there was one that had 11k views already, and I've done nothing except post the video. So it's going well, the TikTok. So hopefully we have another good little video to upload after this episode.
And Jack, welcome.
Thanks, mate. Good to be here. Happy to be here as always, gents. Just happy to
be here. Of course.
have an invite.
Oh.
Didn't get to the game on the weekend, Nico, which killed me. But Mother's Day, special occasion at the partner's place. But yeah, really pleased to be here after another really dominant Pies performance, and looking forward to dissecting it.
A nice, relaxed, comprehensive victory it was yesterday, wasn't it, Jensen? Fantastic that we were able to assert our authority, even at times when we looked slightly challenged. We were able to get on top and get away to a pretty big win, our second biggest win of the year, with that 65-point margin. Sets us up well for the Blues this week, but we won't talk any more about that club. Let's get on to Collingwood. Your initial thoughts on the game at hand? It was a pretty electrifying start with Bobby Hill getting on the ball with a beautiful goal in his 50th game, and then from there it just all seemed to work. It wasn't too rushed. We weren't too worried or under pressure. We didn't really see GWS come at us too much. They were just sort of all guarding space, putting their arms up in the air and hoping for the best, and worked to our favour with some excellent contributions from pretty much all 23 players on the team. And it was it was exceptional to see, first of all, but just the way we were playing our football made us all feel pretty positive about where these Pies are heading in 2023, Marcus.
Yeah, look, it's a mature performance, and it was a rare performance to win by over 10 goals. Boys, it's been more like, have we won by under 10 points? That's been the status quo for the last year or so. So to come to your point about where we sit in the season and how this win ranks, yes, it was a bit of not an ugly game, but the type of game where you're halfway through, like, we're home, we're well and truly home, and I think we all knew that halfway through the second term. But how good was it to see us put another four-quarter performance together? Guys like Braden Maynard tackling as if it's his last game halfway through the third term, and putting our stamp on the match right to the end. Lukey, did you see this as one of our more mature wins of the season?
Yeah, and I thought I caught it too early. You just said halfway through the second quarter. I think I was pretty similar. But yeah, just nice to go on with the job and assert our dominance in a game. I think that's one thing we've lacked when we have been in that position in the past, is to be able to go on with the job and sort of build that percentage, get some good confidence into a few of the boys, which is what we did, and pile on in the last quarter as well. I think we won it by 24 points. So continue our last quarter dominance, even in a game where we haven't had to come from behind. So I thought, yeah, like you said, a very mature performance, but 4 quarters dominance by the Pies.
And it shows how far we've come in 12 months as well, Nico. I mean, you look at the corresponding game against GWS last year, where we probably dominated most of that first half as well, but fell away and allowed them back into the game, albeit through some poor kicking from both sides. Bit of a dirty day that day as well. But yeah, again, Marcus has nailed it. Such a mature performance from this group, and yeah, seeing the fruits of our labour and seeing how much we've improved in just such a short space of time.
Well, we mentioned, I think, last week that our record against GWS hasn't been too flash. We've lost quite a few. It has been
7 wins for us, 6 for them before yesterday.
been
So
real ugly in some of those games as well. So really pleasing to see us get on top in a big way. Let's get to the pie that caught your eye. We're going to have 4 pies in this segment, which is for the first time in a while. It's great to see. Jack, as always, you get to go first off the cape.
And thank God I do, because I'm not sure there was anyone that caught my eye like this bloke. Might be because he's 7 feet tall and I couldn't really see past him. But yeah, it's Mason Cox. We spoke last week about how big it was going to be for the side, just him coming back in from a structure point of view. But I think outside the 2018 prelim, this is the most influential game Mason Cox has had for our footy club, and he's had some really, really big games over his almost 100 game career. He was all around the ground taking contested marks. You know, how many times did we see down the line where Mason wasn't quite in position, but, you know, sort of hold the ball for that extra 5 seconds, allow him to get down the line. He just kept clunking them. And then, you know, not only playing as our main ruckman, doing that role to almost perfection, also able to hit the scoreboard, 2 goals, 1. I mean, for any other ruckman in the comp, that's considered to be elite. So that was good as well. And then got on the end of a very, very nice assist to Jordan De Goey. He just had a really, really complete performance. And again, the eye test, and it's hard watching from home sometimes. I feel like you don't pick up on the efforts of others quite as well. But I feel like, yeah, watching from centre half Pine on the couch on Sunday, that he was the most influential player on the ground, and fully deserves 3 votes, I think, come Brownlow night.
Number 1 ranked player on the ground. He lost the first 4 hitouts against Flynn, and we didn't really know where that was going to go, but he dominated, finished with 25 hitouts along with his 18 touches, 9 marks, 4 contested, and he deserves all the applause that comes his way. 10 coaches votes as well, another perfect performance. So, yeah, great to see that from Mace, and just shows how vital he is to this team. Marcus?
Also shows how vital it is when you come on the Pies Nation podcast. Just
Wow,
taking
clearly.
form
he's
a couple
flying
of
since
weeks
then,
after,
yeah.
So big things to Mason upcoming. Boys, this week I've actually gone with Oleg Markov, pie that caught my eye. It was the type of performance from Oleg where we've seen spurts of his ability to run off the half-back flank. I think Jack's highlighted that on a couple of occasions, but I was really stoked with his run and carry and just the penetrating ball use from the back half. He does often find himself in space, and what did he have? 16 odd touches, so not the best game of all time, but he's built over the last 6 weeks or so since becoming a required player. Probably not a name we thought would play as many games as he has, but he's someone who come finals time, if we've got a few injuries, is all of a sudden an interesting selection because he does run and bounce, and he suits our game style, Lukey. So I thought his game was impressive.
Yeah, and we're going to touch on that in Ask Pies Nation a bit later, but he's going to be a name that's going to be very hard to take out of this best 22 at the moment, because he's getting better every week. His confidence is constantly increasing. So, yeah, he's absolutely flying at the moment. The pie that caught my eye, Jordan De Goey. We've spoken many times about him bringing the consistency to his game. I think he's reached that point now where he has been sort of in our best 3 to 4 players every single week, and now he's hitting the point where he can tear a game apart. I thought he absolutely dominated yesterday. He's doing everything: clearances, goals, disposals, contested possessions. He's just doing it all at the moment, and he's doing it in a way where he's somehow flying under the radar. It's not being spoken about. He's staying out of the headlines, so it kind of works in a good way that he's not on the back page, even in the positive light, that he's just able to get to his work and consistently do it every week. So he's absolutely flying at the moment, and he'll have a big say, I think, come Brownlow night or even Copeland Trophy night as well. So
it's interesting you bring up consistency with Geordie, because he was the backup pilot caught my eye, and I wanted to speak on that. We've spoken a lot about consistency for him across a long period of his career. Injuries doesn't help that, but I think for Geordie it was a matter of closing the gap between your best games and your worst games. And we're seeing it, tenfold this year. I think Anzac Day, he was quiet in the first half, but still found a way to kick 2 goals and impact in different ways throughout the game. So he's one, as the team is improving, he's one that is, closing that gap between the best and the worst footy. Because I think he might have only had the 18 touches, found a way to score last week. And then this week he comes out and has 30 and 1 again. And you sort of feel like he's still impacting in both games. So, yeah. Props to Geordie.
Absolutely. 31 touches at 80% efficiency, 12 contested possessions, 7 inside 50, 7 clearances, 9 score involvements, 496 metres game. I mean,
It's a perfect game, really.
95% of the
thinking that.
time, that's a best on ground performance, but yet he wasn't, and that just goes
But
to
even
show.
even if he's second best, it's barely been spoken about. I feel like in the media, on the footy shows so far. So it's all been about Dacos previously, and then now this week it's a bit more about Cox after he's stolen the limelight. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, De Goey just chilling at the moment.
Had 3, I think the guy was in 3 of our pod, it caught our eyes, either first or second, so it just goes to show how impressive he was. I was going to go with De Goey, but as we mentioned, always got backups. That's what happens when you last. Nick Dacos, and he caught my eye at the end because I went back and looked at his statistics, and you see that he had 41 touches, and you just think, well, why isn't everyone talking about him? Because he's had an outstanding game, but yet he was probably the 3rd or maybe even 4th best on ground behind the likes of Tommy Mitchell too. So just to see that this man is just able to, as you mentioned, Luke, fly under the radar, it works for him. 540 metres gained for his 41 touches at 78%, 8 rebound 50s and 4 inside 50s. I mean, that's phenomenal. Like, you do not see players put that up at a regular basis. That's now 3 times this year he's got 40 or more disposals, and he is just commanding everything in that half-back line. If it's not Darcy Moore doing it with his leadership, it's Nick Dacos. And I think, again, it's positive that the last fortnight he's been talked about, he's been attacked, he's been targeted, he's been tagged, and his output maybe hasn't been as great, but he's still been able to have a solid contribution to the side, and now there's been no attention put to him, and you just see the result. It's 41 touches and just dominating in every position he plays. So for Nick Dacos to have a game like this where he isn't considered maybe the 2nd or 3rd best player in the side, just says a lot about the way he goes about it, but it says a lot about this team and about how every player on that field knows exactly what they need to do, where they need to be, and that results in us winning with these comprehensive victories. So fantastic to see. Another element into that is the tackles. 63 tackles we had. GWS had 29. I mean,
They had 2. I think it was 2 tackles for the whole third quarter.
to win by 10 plus goals, yet win the tackle count by over 30 is absurd. But it's a sign of the way we like to play our football, and it's why we're so hard to beat.
Yeah, absolutely, Nico. I talk about this all the time. You know, if you want to play that high pressure style game, high tackle count, everyone has to buy in, and all 23 players bought in for 4 quarters on Sunday. And yeah, we saw what that looks like.
Absolutely. That pressure was just outstanding, Marcus.
It was, and what we've mentioned how well the high performance team have done to get the guys in shape, and they just look so fit, the whole team. Anyone who comes into that side, including Coxie, who's only played, I think, 2 matches out of 8 weeks. Like, he looked like he was getting around the ground very well for a guy who'd been, what was it, a spleen problem or something not that long ago. So shout outs to the high performance team as well.
Absolutely. I mean, just to see all of it come together in a sense was really positive and something that we can trust to be a consistent part of our game. It's not something you'll get once or twice in games this year. We've been able to do it consistently, and the transition play again was exceptional. Scored 50 plus points from defensive half launches, and really GWS didn't even look like getting close after quarter time, in my opinion, because we just had them covered. And I mentioned again with the pressure, they didn't really look like they wanted to give that pressure back. They were just sort of taking things slow. They were worried about a possession game. We were worried about making the most of their turnovers, and we did that again. So it's just a credit to continuing the system, and particularly in the last quarter where in previous years we would have just sat back and let GWS kick a couple and we only win that game by 3 or 4 goals. But to go on and win the quarter, as you said, by 24 points, Lukey, and win by 10 plus, that's the sign of a premiership team.
Put the foot on the throat against some of these. Not that GWS is right down the bottom, but some of the middle sort of sides, you sort of send a threat throughout the competition. So I was pretty very happy with that.
You felt GWS had to really work for their goals as well, Nico. Like I felt like we were clinical in the way we moved the ball forward, as we've come to expect. But every time they went forward, it was a real struggle for them right from our back line. Oh, sorry, their back line right until our back line. So, yeah, they struggled to get the ball forward, struggled to score, and that was due to, again, to our high intensity, high pressure.
Well, we didn't struggle to score. I mean, clearly you look at the score, but we had 10 individual goal kickers for our 18 majors. And Marcus, we've mentioned before about the importance of not relying on 1 or 2 forwards. You got to remember, we haven't had McStay in his team for almost a month. We had so many players with multiple goals, 7 of them in fact, and it just goes to show that sometimes this makeshift forward line works to a T when we're playing the way we are.
Yeah, no doubt. I think we accept the Giants are probably not going to be there come September. They've got a new coach and they were without their captain on the weekend, which is a huge bonus for us as well, by the way. Braden Maynard probably very disappointed, however, that he wasn't going to have the opportunity to towel up Toby Green again. But yeah, look, I think the Pies are just showing why we deserve to be premiership favourites right now. And our season is growing. It's like, obviously, the win against the Crows was a bit of a almost blip on the radar, but we just continue to find a way. So coming into the bye round, looking at the next 4 weeks, geez, it's exciting with the fixtures we've got. That lid is just,
I think we're sitting on top. We're obviously sitting on top, but we are, I think, the only side who hasn't played any of those bottom three, which is North, West Coast, and Hawthorn.
Yeah.
So
it's an exciting position.
And
to be
we're
in
a
at this
game
stage.
ahead on top. So that is pretty insane, really.
See, for me, this is a test, though. So I want these wins to continue against those sides, where in previous years we've sort of just let it get us a lot closer than we would have liked, aka last year, or potentially even drop one. You look at the West Coast match last season. So for me, this is really important for us over the next month. Obviously, belt the Blues by 200 points, but after that, ensure that we put away these lower sides that won't give us much trouble at the end of the season. It's just so crucial.
And solidify that percentage, which could be pretty important by the end of the year if we're fighting for a home final, if we do drop a few throughout the run home.
You mentioned coaching, Marcus, with, of course, GWS having a new one this year in Adam Kingsley. Did you think that McRae had him covered in the coaching department? It looked pretty obvious from a tactical point of view.
Oh, no doubt. Look, again, we're just reading out some of those key statistics, and their game style coming in was like they're a high pressure side themselves. So I'm not sure what happened on the weekend, whether it was their playing their only game at the MCG this year, or they were just spooked without the captain. Like, there was a few circumstances that probably helped us. We've got a decent sized injury list, but plenty of our key pressure players are still in the side. So I can't speak to exactly what went right for us, but we didn't have to change much to absolutely get on the top of them. So it was a few forwards as well. We've had quiet weeks in recent weeks, and they bounced back. Bobby Hill, of course, is one of those, and I think that first goal of the day really summed up how the afternoon was going to pan out.
The smarts to not just centre that ball and sky it, but to rather see that the GWS man was going to cover him in that department and go with the along the ground job. Just superb.
And I love how last week, after being subbed off, Craig McRae tells him straight after the game that he'll be playing next week and he's going to be backing him in despite being subbed off in the game, because, that just happens sometimes with small forwards, as we've mentioned. So, yeah, I love that he backed him in, and it's amazing what confidence does for elite sports.
And he did it all early as well. He didn't let the game take over him. Got the first goal, obviously, but was doing everything early, got 2 first half goals, and my headline, what's our little segment at the end?
The Monday headline.
Monday headline, I had Bobby for 3 goals, a giant day for Bobby. So I think he kicked it behind. He might have stuffed another one. I'm like, come on, get the third so I can gloat about this. But he still had a giant day out at the office.
And great to see him get to this 50-game milestone too. I mean, we know the issues he had with his health and the struggles of getting himself over to Victoria. So, yeah, such a great asset for our club, but just as a personal point of view, awesome to see him get on the field.
Yeah, and once again, I'm sure for him having his children in the song at the end, like that just means absolutely everything to the players, and particularly for guys like him that have really had to work hard to get their opportunity and face some personal adversity to overcome that. So big shout out to Bobby, because he bounced back big.
Well, speaking off air, speaking of the huddle post-game or the celebrations, I mean, it was Mother's Day, of course, on Sunday. It's always a tough game to play when it is Mother's Day because players don't get the chance to be with their families. But Collingwood just seemed to be doing everything right on and off field. And the way they, I guess, had their mothers there on the game and even during the week as well, to see them get the mothers involved, I think was just outstanding. And a credit to, I guess, the club and what they're trying to do, and the whole morale of the place is just something we have never really seen before.
Was it Bo McCreary's mum giving them
how awesome was that?
Pre-game rev-up speech?
Yeah.
That was unreal. Saw that footage this afternoon and had a smile from ear to ear the whole time watching that. That was so cool.
Chase that ball, Jack. Yeah, I'm sure Bo will be stoked with that one.
But it's just not just this week, but it's been across since Flyers kind of taken over. It's just been getting the families involved, not being afraid to give all of yourself inside the 4 walls of the footy club. So this week was really nice with the mothers throughout the week, and then in the pre-game, the flowers when they ran on the ground and that kind of thing. And then obviously singing the song with your mum, awesome to see.
Up there.
Hard to beat, isn't that right? Were there any other players that, I mean, it's a tough game to, I guess, single out players apart from the obvious ones that had a big influence, but were there others that were able to benefit from the way we were playing, particularly on Sunday, in terms of just their own personal development, maybe in the back line? I mean, I know the ball didn't go down there too much, so it was a nice, easy day for Captain Moore and all his mates down there. But, was there anyone that sort of you wanted to see maybe take the opportunity of a dominant win into their own hands and improve their game a little?
Tough one to answer, Nico. I thought Jack Ginnivan was just another classic Ginnivan game where he just kind of pops up at these moments throughout the match and just
that
does
goal
this
he
stuff.
got late.
Yeah.
That's insane.
The inadvertent
Off the ground. That was ridiculous. But look, I'm not sure if there's one particular player that comes to mind, but again, we just looked in sync and it looked like there were guys there who have clearly bought into the footy program and understand the way we want to play. Didn't shy away from that even when the conditions got a little bit more dewy towards the end of the match, and we continue to pile on a score. So I think that whatever we're seeing is a body of work from round one that has really started to come together, and it's really impressive to see that guys in their first, second, third year of footy are doing what the coach has asked them to.
I feel like Johnny Noble was one for mine, Nico, that stood out a little bit. Let's talk about Captain Moore and his back six there. I thought just a stock standard game from him, but I feel like every week he's elevating his status as an AFL footballer a little bit. Just taking tremendous strides and being a really important part of our side. And I feel like I've just got this feeling that Tay Adams is building as well. I feel like he got involved early. He got involved last week in a few good plays, and it hasn't reflected so much in the accumulation stats because he's still getting that like 14 to 15 touches, not the 30 that we have seen from Tay in previous years. But I feel like as he gets more games under his belt and gets his body right, he's building towards something good.
Steele got a lot early too, didn't he? And I thought he was going to have a really big game disposals wise, but it just served as a reminder that almost 2 years ago that there was so many questions about his future.
He's getting traded and delisted. And
he's touch wood playing 300 in a fortnight. So but what did you think of the Scott Pendlebury sub? I mean, I know, of course, that the game was won and done by then and there was no need for concern, but were you a bit surprised or fascinated that he was the one that was getting taken off?
No, I don't mind that. I think he's been a workhorse. He's probably a bit battered and bruised at this point in the season, so I don't mind that. I was glad that there was nothing to it except just purely tactical, get him off and have a rest. He's done his work for the day, and it's one of those rare Collingwood occasions where the game was sort of done. We didn't really need him out there. I was just going to bring up Tom Mitchell. He hasn't really been spoken about, but he had a massive day yesterday, 36 disposals, 72%, 12 of those contested. I thought he was really influential. Probably played his best game for the club this year so far. So he's just one of those guys, again, who's just building every week and really been the sort of cornerstone into this Collingwood side this season.
Absolutely. It's that clearance work again. It was the reason we brought him into the first place, and it's just paying dividends. It was so crucial for us, and not just talking about Sunday at times, but for most games this year, his ability to win the ball and get it out to our outside midfielders has just been a massive contributor as to why we've been in games as often as we have.
And on that note too, with our clearance work, particularly at the centre clearance, it wasn't only the fact that we were winning them, it was the fact that the ball wasn't hitting the deck in order to get it from the centre circle into our forward 50. The run and spread from guys like Mitchell to De Goey to Crisp and then inside the kick goes to a forward was either a total lack of pressure from GWS, which is kind of what we experienced at points in the season late last year. So to see that do a big flip, and it's not happening every quarter of every game for the Pies, because you would hope the opposition is a bit more competitive, to be honest. But that has changed. That absolutely has changed, and I completely agree that Tommy Mitchell is a big say in that, Lukey.
We converted 59% of our inside 50 to scores, which is the best percentage we've had all season. So just backs up your point there about
I had a look at that stat.
The efficiency inside 50. You were just waiting to say it, but I had to jump in there with
just stats man buttons.
just to qualify your statement there. Let's get to our votes then from Sunday's match. Of course, we'll wait for the fans to get theirs in. So if you're listening and you still haven't put those votes in, you still got a bit more time to do so. Brody Mychek dominated, of course, last week with the votes. So the top 10's looking interesting, and especially now Nick Dacos, that lead's just starting to get smaller and smaller, Lukey. I think there's a few players starting to rise up a
I
bit.
spoke to you a bit about that last week. We thought it was all over, and he's sort of getting a bit of company up there. And it's a long season, so I think Nick has fallen into a bit of the old Pendlebury trap where he's just so good every week that people go, well, I'm not going to give him a vote. I'll give someone else a vote and try and help them out. So
let's actually do a quick update in terms of the actual votes before we get to the round 10 ones from ours. So Dacos's lead at the moment is 15 votes, and second is Jordan De Goey. So, of course, he's had a good few weeks. It's starting to build up. Scott Pendlebury's in third, which, again,
As you do.
unbelievable, really. He's on 40, so he's 8 behind De Goey. Josh Dacos is in fourth spot, 37. Darcy Moore rounds out the top 5 with 34. Side bottom, Tom Mitchell, Nathan Murphy, Brody Mychek, all around that mark to sneak into the top 5 as well. So we'll see where it stands. Keep an eye out for all the social posts later on in the week. But let's get to our votes. Marcus, I'll start with you this time. Your 3, 2, 1s.
Thank you, Nick. One vote I have gone with Nick Dacos. It was a lazy 41, is what I've defined it as. And it's incredible that he's setting such high benchmarks for himself for us to notice his good work. 2 votes went to Oleg. Really loved his game, as I said, provided plenty of run and bounce and not a high possession game by any stretch, but provided plenty off that half back line. And 3 votes to Mr. USA, Mason Cox. Who would you like to go with next, Nick?
I'm going to go myself. 1 vote goes
it's selfish.
very similar to yourself, Marcus. I gave 1 to Nick Dacos. You mentioned about his 41 disposals, just another brilliant effort across half back. Jordan De Goey was 2, as I mentioned, probably the best on ground if you were born in Australia. That's probably the way I see it with De Goey's form. He was just so efficient and just such a bull at the contest. And Mason Cox with arguably his best game in his 98-game career was outstanding in all areas of the ground.
Don't ask him, though. He still thinks the prelim.
I did see that. That was very funny. He had to remind McRae, who was at Richmond at the time in 2018, that the prelim was clearly his best performance. Luke, let's go with your votes.
I'll go the 1 vote, Tommy Mitchell, for reasons previously stated. But, yeah, he's absolutely been a key part of this Collingwood side this year and loving the way he's going about it. Probably his best game of the year yesterday. 2 votes, Jordan De Goey. Huge, absolutely huge. Like I said a bit earlier, perfect game. And 3 votes, Coxzilla. He, might be just behind that Richmond game, but it's certainly a key contender for
Jack.
Coxie.
I've gone the exact same as Lukey there. It was a real flip of the coin for me. For my 1 vote was definitely between Tom Mitchell and Nick Dacos, but went with Titch. I thought, his clearance work was just instrumental on Sunday, and 2 to De Goey and 3 to the big fella, Mason.
Not bad. So out of 24 combined votes, Nick Dacos' 41 disposal game got 2. Bizarre. But
lofty standards.
But
And see, I'm part of the problem because what I just said before is, Nick, he gets enough votes. I'll give it to. But I genuinely think the other 3 really deserve their votes. But Nick is going to need to get 50 disposals, I think, to get back in the 3, 2, 1.
50 in about 4 or 5. That would be too bad. No, I think Coxie, De Goey and Mitchell all deserve to get votes as well this week. So nothing wrong with that. A big Ask Pies Nation to come. We've got our VFL wrap, which will quickly slide by because it wasn't a great result. And we'll return with 20 questions. So we'll be right back. Welcome back to the Pies Nation podcast, where the pies are hot and the drinks are cold. Let's get straight into Ask Pies Nation Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TikTok, everywhere. We are absolutely everywhere. We're on top of the ladder as well, just like the Pies are. So up and about, make sure you get involved. Ask Pies Nation for this week. Lukey, take it away.
Yeah, so we spoke earlier about Oleg Markov, and he solidified his spot in the best 22, especially with some of the names to come back in who will be returning from injury soon, and just getting the fans' opinion on that. We'll start with JT Vax Joe Pies. He has been so solid down back and on the wing, and we are literally paying him a bag of beans to play. Lipinski should slot back in when fit, but it's so great to have depth in these positions. Such a long season and more injuries/suspensions will happen.
You gave Markov such high praise a few weeks ago when we did the pie that caught your eye, and he's just continuing to deliver.
Yeah, absolutely is, Nico. And I think I get this bad gut feeling that because of the names that are coming back in, he might be the sacrificial lamb, so to speak, if I can use that term. But because I think what he brings to the table is his electric pace and that bursting away, the run and carry, as Marcus mentioned. But I feel like we've got enough blokes that can try and cover that.
Yep.
But we need to cover other areas. Coming into Carlton this week, I think we're going to get a good look into what it looks like trying to play small against two of the elite forwards in the comp. Because really we've only got Darcy Moore as a genuine tall back. Obviously Murph playing a lot taller. We've spoken on that. So yeah, I feel for Markov because, as I said, I couldn't sing his praises high enough for all the reasons, but he might be a bit of a sacrificial lamb.
Gail Wilson, what a great problem to have. What this means is every selector player will have to put in 100% to keep their spot.
But that's the thing, they are.
Yeah.
It's not
So
as
it's
if
like there's no one to drop.
yeah, it's not as if it's
Yeah.
obvious where there's a player not performing or hasn't been
Yeah.
consistent. Everyone is putting in that 100%, so it makes it even more difficult.
Adzi Paps 95. Howe comes back in seamlessly, but it's nice to have boys in the wings who can play the role just as good as he can. Lipper will struggle, but his quality is too good to leave out.
It's incredible to think that we are playing like this. Like Lipper was one of our most improved. I say improved from his time at the Bulldogs, but one of our most impressive players last year. Yet he hasn't played a single minute so far, and he might even half struggle to come into this team. Who knows?
Yeah. Miss Danny, he's been outstanding, to be fair. I wasn't expecting much, but our game plan suits him so well. His run out of the back line has been great. Be stiff to lose his spot, but I'm assuming when Howie is ready, this will be the backman that misses out.
Yeah, I'd probably expect that. And to think that Markov was going to Carlton for about one training session.
That story, the story is incredible.
Yeah.
Of how he actually ended up being with
Collingwood.
us. So, Anthony Soro could almost be the perfect sub when everyone is fit. Is quick, dynamic, can run all over a tiring team in the last quarter.
I think the sub rule, we've played it really well. I mean, there's been times where we've picked Reef like we did yesterday, but we have opted for some of those speedier types. I mean, you looked at Jack Ginnivan, who's played that role, Bobby Hill as well, potentially. So I think in terms of the actual sub rule, and what we've been using or how we've been utilising it, we've been doing that pretty well too.
Yeah, for sure. We spoke on, I think, last week or the week before, Nico, about it being a small forward, perfect position to come on and inject a bit of pace into the game. But it's also perfect for Oleg to come in off the half back and inject his pace and run and carry into it for sure.
Jimmy Trevor, all I can say is I'm glad I'm not a selector because no one really deserves to go out. Great spot to be in for sure, but couldn't answer this question.
Yeah, I'm not even an option.
Nick S. or Nick Spiteri, sorry. It's a great problem to have that allows Jeremy, Pat, and Billy the extra
Jeremy
time.
Patton.
Jeremy Howe, Pat
Jeremy
Lipinski,
Patton.
and Billy the extra time to really ensure they are 100% before coming back and not risking further injury. I see no reason why we can't rotate these guys when they are back to keep them fresh. And that's sort of not a problem, but somewhere we might end up later in the year if we do keep winning and sort of put ourselves in that really nice position where we can start to manage blokes if we don't cop a bit of a run of injuries later in the year, but we can be in that position where we can tactically substitute Pendles. He might not be the subbed off next week. He might end up just not playing at all. We give him a week off. So that's a position we might see ourselves in later in the year. Brendan Tolhill getting better each week. Like him, run and dash, confidence building each week. Suits the game style. Heaps of run. Spud Reegs, I don't think we can run a side full of DC, McStay, Cox and Frampton. Markov and Howe will be battling each other. Lipper, Elliott and Adams as well. It's a good problem to have.
Can you play all four talls, Marcus?
Oh, that's look. It's an intriguing conversation because it's like, what are the rotations that best exploit all of their talents? Billy Frampton, I think, was a big surprise in the ruck. We saw that he's not just an okay ruckman; he is very, very serviceable. So,
And let's not also forget that he shut down one of the best forwards in the comp in Tom Lynch for the better part of 3 quarters. So he's more than applicable in the position that we actually got him to the club for. While we're on this topic, gents, so we've spoken about Lipinski's a name that is out of the side that we all expect should come back in. McStay, who we haven't spoken about much just yet. Cameron, who's due to come back this week. Jeremy Howe and Billy Frampton. These are 5 blokes who we've seen all should really be in our best 22, but there's almost not enough spots for them.
No.
We need to apply to the AFL to have 3 more
26
extra
on the ground.
subs on the bench.
Default, Oleg plays with heart and passion and solidifies the depth of the squad. I love the guy and what he brings, but he may have to step aside when
Yeah,
Howe gets back.
I think that's been the general consensus.
Aaron, I like this one. It will work. Hashtag hot pies.
It will work. Just,
Very simple.
Sneak away to have 26, 27 on the ground.
And I'll finish with Kami G6. It's so funny. Yesterday, every time I looked at the bench, I thought, oh my God, imagine having those three players on the bench at the same time. And then I thought, everyone in our team is like that. Everyone puts in 100% all the time, which makes it harder to get into the team, but makes those players just as good when they get on. A great culture down there at the moment.
Yeah, spot on. That's a nice way to end. Ask Pies Nation, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, whatever you would like to find us on is where we'll be. Be sure to get involved each week on Ask Pies Nation. Margin shout-outs? No one?
No.
But for a good reason?
Yeah, no, I don't think any. Well, we don't have big wins like this too often, so I don't think many people went. There was a couple maybe above 50, but everyone was still sort of the very low margin. So
Nice. All right, let's seamlessly chuck the headphones on and pretend that this is all perfectly how we like to put them on, because it's time for Guess the Crowd. So, an interesting crowd. Now, not as high as maybe a lot of us were expecting, but still, was it 37 in the end?
37,000 and something. I can't remember exactly what it was,
Trying conditions for the crowd.
Yes.
but it was. I read today it was the biggest crowd post-COVID on a Mother's Day still.
Is that right?
So it's still
We'll take that mantle.
that's
Classic.
something.
Add it to the trophy cabinet. We're going to speak to Corey, who was our closest. It was only 20 off.
I think it was about 20 off. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, let's hear from Corey now as part of Guess the Crowd.
Hello.
Corey?
Yes, it is Corey.
Hi, Corey. Nicholas here from the Pies Nation podcast, mate. Congratulations for getting the Guess the Crown competition win this week. Great to have you on, mate. Were you one of the 37,000 that made their way to the G yesterday to watch the Pies take a comprehensive victory?
I was not actually, just watched it at home, but it was a good game. Very good game, actually.
Absolutely, it was. What impressed you so much about yesterday's victory?
Mason Cox put on a show, obviously. It was just quality from the big fella.
G'day, Corey. Just Jack here, mate. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on. A bit of a head scratcher for you. We've got 5 players in the way of Lipinski, McStay, Cameron, Howe, and Frampton, all on our injury list, all due to come back at some stage. Can we fit them all in? Who misses out? What do you think?
I don't know about all. You think Lipinski has to be a walk-up. That kid was a star last season. Very good for us. But who comes out for him? I don't know. How? Has to go back in.
Yep. It's a head scratcher
Maybe
for
for
sure.
Oleg has to be the one that goes out, you think, but he's not doing anything wrong.
Poor Oleg.
That's the problem, isn't it? Absolutely.
G'day,
Yeah,
Corey.
it's going to be rough.
G'day, Corey. It's Luke here. Probably one player across the season so far, maybe not one of the big names, but someone that has just flown under the radar and had a really good start to the season. Who would that be for you?
Oof. Will Hoskin Elliott, actually, for me. He gets called a lot of people, call him out, wanting to get dropped and stuff, but he just plays his role perfectly. Obviously, the coaches are happy with his work because he's never on the chopping block, so he's doing well. And he's popped up the last few weeks with a couple of goals, so
Love some Will Hoskin Elliott love. He gets too much hate, I think, on the socials.
You think about it, he was probably not playing round one had Lipinski been in that team, but yet he's been able to take his opportunity, and since then he's been able to work it out, Marcus.
He has. Corey, thank you for joining us, mate. Look, just wanted to get an insight into your Collingwood experience, who in the family supported the Pies, or why do you? And also, when you do head to the games, where do you sit? What's your pre-match routine like, and do you still get along to the matches?
I have been a Collingwood fan my whole life because my dad is, so it's just all I've ever known. I'm a third tier man.
Third
right
tier.
up the top, or fourth actually.
Yeah.
Nosebleed man. Very good.
I don't really have a pretty much routine. It's whether I'm from Geelong, so we either drive up or catch the train. It's never the same thing. Depending on how early we go, might grab a beer or lunch beforehand, or
Beautiful.
But yeah, it's
What-
nothing standard.
What's it like being a Pies fan in Geelong? I'm sure you have to deal with a lot of interesting breeds down there.
That is exactly what it is. It's grim, man. You tell people and they're all Geelong fans for the most part, and I truly hate that team for it. Just 'cause I live here.
Oh,
If
that's
I didn't
great.
live here and didn't have to deal with them every day, then it would be fine. But it's very annoying.
Shout out to all our Pies fans in Geelong, by the way. Go on, Jack.
Righto, Corey. I got a question that I've asked a few times now. The boys might be getting sick of me asking it, but I'm going to the football on the weekend. I'm sitting in the MCC. I'm wearing a collared shirt. I've got my jersey in my hand, and I'm undecided whether or not I'm throwing it. I'm a 23-year-old male. Is it acceptable for me to wear it? Yes or no?
Absolutely, it is.
Yes,
love it.
I
love
myself
that.
don't wear a jersey, but you do, you man.
Yeah, I love it. I'm loving that response to that question as well.
good.
Nico.
Corey, I'll give you one for all the Geelong fans out there. What's been your favourite Collingwood victory against Geelong, and were you there for that victory?
There has been a couple, actually. There was a final, when was it? 2018 it might have been, actually, the qualifying final.
Yep.
We just smashed them. That was very exciting.
No, that was a good one.
Other than that, it seems to be every time I go against Geelong, we lose. Like
Oh, no.
There's a game.
Stay home.
2021, I think, round 1 or 2 maybe. We got comfortably beaten then. That was when we were terrible. Boxers last year.
Oh, yep.
Very good, Corey. Now, just a quick pop quiz question here. There was a very fine Collingwood player by the name of Corey Galt who played about 2015 to 2017. Now,
Yeah.
what I would like to know from you, if you had one crack, what number was Corey Galt?
Oof, number.
The
I
boys
think
in
it
the
was
studio
more
are
like
scratching their
10.
heads too, so don't worry about it.
18, was it?
It was actually 44.
Oh,
So
it's
he
way off.
only played the 6 games,
I
Corey.
think Jack was. I thought he was saying 4. I'm like, I don't know about 4, but
I only know this because as a young fella attending the Pies game, it was round 3 or 4 against St Kilda, pouring wet. We won by about 70 odd points. And still being a little tragic Collingwood supporter, I waited on the fence after the game, and Corey Galt was nice enough to give me a ball. So I paid attention to what number he was after that.
Good blokes, Corey. aren't they?
Absolutely. Corey, it's been great to have you on, mate. Congratulations on being a part of the pod this week, and hopefully we'll be celebrating plenty of wins throughout the 2023 season. Thanks, mate.
Let's hope so. Thanks, boys.
thanks, Corey.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks, Corey.
And that was Corey joining us on Guess the Crowd. That could be you if you guess the crowd closest. So be sure to look out for all the game day posts by Lukey. And when the Guess the Crowd post comes on, guess closest. And if it's you, that will be you joining us next week. Corey Galt, when I went to Perth a few years ago to watch the Pies beat West Coast by a point, we went to a waffle game and he was playing. And shout out to Corey. I reckon he touched that ball about once, and unfortunately, just wasn't right.
That's a good news story.
Just wasn't working out for him. But for the 6 games, was it 6 games he played for us? He
There or
was
thereabouts.
more than serviceable.
Does anyone know what he's up to these days?
I
Corey Galt. Is he
can't-
still
can't
playing
confirm.
footy, or is he? Yeah, I haven't heard that name for a while, so it threw me off trying to think what number he was. And Jack's over here sending me signals, and
It's, from the Galt, boys, that one.
Oh, we just got to listen back to our 44th ep. when
Enjoy-
we-
yeah.
we were guessing the jumper number.
Yeah.
No, that was great from Corey. Let's move on to the VFL report, and unfortunately, not too many smiles coming from there. And it looked to be the case for a bit, but just got pipped at the end, Marcus.
It was in a place that Corey Galt knew very well in the twos during his tenure at
Slammed it
Collingwood.
all
sort of
I
waxed
don't know why I'm going so hard.
I hope he's not listening.
But either way, look, bit of a shocker, to be honest, boys, for the VFL. Had a convincing margin at halftime and really at three-quarter time as well. Should have got the job done, up by about 3 or 4 goals at that point. And in the 34th minute, GWS have come back and pipped us at the post to win by 2 points. High-scoring affair, 113 to 111. So really is one that they should not have dropped. Just looking at some of our notable performers, Joshy Carmichael, once again, big disposals, big goals, 28 and 4.
Oof.
So I think someone like a Tommy Mitchell is just making it very hard for Josh Carmichael to come in, and particularly with Reef providing a bit more tall up forward. But look out for him, I think, later in the season if we do have some injuries. Lockie Tardru putting together an unbelievably consistent season as well. And Harvey Harrison, 20 disposals and 3 goals. So some of the more notable performers, but they'll be licking their wounds after this one. And I think we now slip to 12th, Nico. But let's get a bit more from the Surge if he decided to mail in and give us some of that in-depth analysis.
Certainly did. Not only that, he was actually there watching. So shout out to Serge.
He
Great
gets
to see.
around.
He does.
He's an enigma. He's in Queensland and then he's in Victoria. And
Cycles there.
Oh, he's just all
Loves
over it. So Serge, defending a lead is not easy in a high-scoring game. Didn't see Kruger in the last quarter. We heard that he may have done something to his shoulder again, unfortunately.
five touches and a goal for Krug. So
Also,
quiet.
Aiden Begg on one leg in the last 10 minutes of the game, so not
Mm.
great for him as he was looking to get some consistent form after injury. All Pies appeared to run out of steam. We had multiple goal kickers in Carmichael 4, Murley and Harrison 3 each, but he's still trying to work out how we lost, and I think we all are after that. But especially, we had a 9-goal second quarter, I believe. That really got us going, but just, couldn't put it away in the end.
Not sure what happened, Nico, but it is disappointing. As I mentioned, we do slip to 12th. Our percentage is exactly 100 as well,
Wow.
if you were curious about that. Nick, we've lost 4 of 5, and we have a bye this coming week, so plenty of time to watch tape and hopefully bounce back after it.
Yes, a nice little rest for our VFL boys. Our VFLW girls were able to defeat North by 10 points. They jump into second spot, which is fantastic to see, and they played a 6th place Southern Saints on the weekend. So shout out to the VFLW girls continuing to get those wins on the board. Now, it's time. Boys, 20 questions to guess the Collingwood player that I'm thinking of, part 3.
Between 3 of us, we should do it in
This is
under,
my debut
under
for this
15.
little segment. So
Well, let's see.
Very easy as well this segment, Lukey, so you're going to
I
enjoy
watched
this.
your last couple.
Is it Corey Gold?
I was going to say
It's
that.
not, but I'm counting it as a guess.
Oh.
Go on.
Who's going first?
Is it a current player, Nico?
Not a current player.
Okay.
Has he played in the last 10 years?
No.
Was I forward?
No.
Am I a premiership player?
No.
Was I on the list in 2010?
No.
Was I defender?
Yes. You've used 7 questions already, by the way.
He's a burns through.
That's all right.
Did I play 50 games?
No.
Did I play 20 games?
No.
Was I a tall defender?
No.
I've got absolutely nothing.
Might be a tough one.
How many questions we got left, Nico?
10 down, 10 to go.
Rightio.
Jeez.
Rightio.
So let's just do a recap at halfway.
I don't-
Short defender who
didn't play more than 20.
didn't play in the 2010 season.
But hasn't played more than 20 games.
Hasn't played more than 20 games.
Oh, I don't know if I'm getting... Nah, I'm going to ask this. Did I come on as a sub on Anzac Day?
Oh, that's obscure.
I'll have to double.
I may as well just ask who it
I'll
was. then.
have
I'm
to
not-
double check.
I'm not going to now, but I feel like you'd know if it was him. Bit of a enigma to use.
No.
Mar-
Was it
Marcus's.
had played
No.
in the last 10 years?
No.
No.
Okay.
Has not. Wow.
Yeah, I'm stumped.
Oh, no, he played more.
Did he play post 2005?
Yes.
And we ticked off that he wasn't a tall defender. Oh, that's not a question for you, Nico.
No,
That's a
no,
question
no,
for
it's
my
all right.
teammates.
It's all right. It's all right.
Yeah.
That's fine.
So short defender. Oh, here we go. Was I left footer?
I'll have to double check. Hey, I need to be. I need to
He
be
mustn't
right.
have been
Mustn't have,
around much if you
done
don't
much.
know what
Not
leg
a
he
very
kicked
notable
on.
No.
kicker. I've run out of questions.
Just give me a
to
look
ask.
at his photo and I'll tell you what,
Yeah.
what peg.
Let me see. Just a quick pause.
I thought I had.
I don't know how you find that information, by the way, but I'll quickly
Just
look.
show me his face. I'll tell you by then. Is that statistical analysis that's kept in the archives?
I don't think so.
If they were left or
I'm
right
not-
footer.
It's an ambidextrous game, so
On
I
the
guess.
Wikipedia, he
Yeah.
was a left footer.
Oh, don't know, but I'm gonna let you redo the question.
Was he
That's
a right
fair.
footer?
Oh, I don't know.
So that question doesn't count, and I need to ask a new one.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So you've used 12. You got 8.
Did I play for another club?
Yes. Think about what you got so far. Small defender, post 2005.
Between
another
05
club.
and 10 at the moment, under 20 games.
Well, not necessarily between 05 and 10.
Well,
Anyway.
it's
I played less than 20 games for my career or at Collingwood?
At Collingwood.
Less than 20 at Collingwood.
all right.
So I
How
played
many?
Go.
Hold on. One at a time.
Did I play more than 50 games at another club?
Yes.
Okay.
So he's actually a player.
Permission to like. We're not allowed to. We have to go off what we know. We're not allowed
What?
to fact check. No, that's cheating.
Nah,
I was going
nah.
to say
That's
the-
definitely
Can't be
it is
doing
cheating.
that.
This episode might go for 3 hours.
So-
that's right.
How many questions left, Nico?
6.
I feel like we're in strife here.
I reckon you'd be doing pretty well to get it from here.
Was the team that I used to play for one of the big Melbourne teams?
Yes.
Oh, I've got. No, I don't know. Oh, I don't know.
So the define big as in Richmond.
So
Carlton.
Richmond, Essendon, Carlton. And I'm leaning. No, I'm not going to burn a question.
5 to
No, go for it. I'm stumped. So
Richmond, Essendon,
Carlton.
Carlton are the big Melbourne teams.
Yeah.
Mm.
And the team is Carlton?
Is that a question?
Yeah, is the team
Yes,
Carlton?
the team
yeah,
is Carlton.
I got someone, but I don't know.
You could go for it.
Do you want to have another question, Marcus,
No,
before
go.
Jordan Russell?
Correct.
Yeah.
Oh,
Jordan
that was so
Russell.
easy.
noted for 2013 Anzac Day, Nico. Pretty much killed us in the game. He kicked it out of bounds on the full from a kick out. Zaharakis goes and kicks a goal, and yeah, it was a very good precedent for the rest of the
that's
afternoon.
where I got
so
confused.
shout out Jordan
I
Russell.
think I asked before. I think I asked about 2010, but then I was putting in between 05 and 10, and we didn't.
9 games for Collingwood in 2013, so technically not in the
Yeah.
last 10 years. 116 games at Carlton. You order number 2, in case any of you were going to ask that question. Pick 9 in 2004, and then ended up with 2 VFL flags at the Dogs once he finished up at the Pies. So Jordan Russell, don't know, yeah, just one of those one of those players. I didn't think you were going to get it, so very impressive, Jack, for you to get that.
That was the hardest one by far.
Absolutely. So the leaderboard as it stands, Jack's got 2 correct, Marcus 1, Luke obviously none from 1 at the moment.
I'll be the
I'll be lucky to get one if they keep going to that.
Was that harder in the hot seat?
Yeah, but that was almost like I just had nothing. There was nothing coming to mind at all. Whereas when I've watched him, I kind of, I have a bit of an idea. But that was real tough.
So now that you know who it is, do you know what foot he kicked on? Was he a left or a right?
was he a left?
I don't know.
He must have been a right footer because that kick that I can. It's the only, it's the only
That's all
kick
you
I
can
remember.
remember.
It gives me nightmares still. It was on his right foot, unless of course he's a left footer
I
and he
just
was.
don't know. I don't know. I just couldn't get that in first for you. So anyway, that's the next
We'll ask
edition
him.
We'll say right.
of the 20 questions. Marcus, want to finish things off with a Monday headline?
I'm very much looking forward to yours.
I'll go last
It
then.
sounds like you've been saving this one up.
I'll go last. So
for a
you guys
while.
go ahead.
Monday headline: Ash Johnson takes Mark of the Year.
Oh, I don't mind that.
That is impressive.
It's good.
Lukey.
Can it be a bit opposition based?
You tell me.
Well,
Nico's one is going to be.
if we smack him, I think Vossi's going to have a few blues on Monday to worry about. So,
Got to get more specific, mate.
well,
You tell me.
pies by 50 plus, and Vossi's on the chopping block come Monday for Carlton by the Carlton faithful.
Yeah, I was going to go something hopefully along those lines, more out of hope. I'm sorry to do this to you, Nico. It's going to kill both you and I think, avid Carlton haters, but I think Collingwood pip the Blues again in a close one.
Oh, no. Can't do that. Can't do that. Pies will win by 15 goals. Zagos is going to have
that's 100.
45 plus.
So what's the headline?
Yep, and as a result, Carlton explode. Voss gets sacked. Internal review.
This is an article.
They will be lucky to win another game for the rest of the year as a result of the trauma that has come from this defeat. That is my headline. So pick any of that, what you like. 15 goals.
I like Vossi. Vossi's blues. is the
Vossi's
headline.
Blues.
You would have liked mine last week. It was a giant day for Bobby.
Oh, I heard at the start of this episode.
Yeah, that's twice now.
pretty,
he's brought that up,
I-
hasn't he?
Very creative. He's
Completely-
happy with it.
Come up with that on the spot, and I've
Yeah.
ran with it all week.
Before we wrap up this ep, Jack, you mentioned off air that you went to the Holden Centre, or not the Holden Centre anymore, the AIA Centre for mingling with the Magpies. Were you able to sneak through some future guests for us?
Not quite. Well, watch this space
Okay.
is what I'll say. Hopefully some good
How was the
news
experience? Good?
coming. Yeah, look, I got to say my partner bought the tickets, and when she told me we were going, it's something, now I'm getting older, getting photos of the players and getting signatures is coming a little bit not as important. But a really great night at the club. Very, very good at the players. They were all very accommodating. Special shout out to Krugs, Oleg Markov and Pat Lipinski especially. I thought they were...
They were 3-2-1s.
They were they were awesome. Not necessarily in any sort of order. They were so accommodating, so chatty, and really really unique opportunity to get to shake hands with some of your heroes. Albeit I am 23 years old, but I do still look up to these blokes. And even if they are like Nick Dacos and they're 2 years younger than me.
Did anyone ask you for a photo?
Yeah.
No. Thank God, because I'm not sure how I would have gone about that. And thank God they didn't ask for a
lot of other
signature.
fans, like Collingwood fans there as well.
Yeah,
obviously.
yeah.
So did you think anyone was going to pick you out from the crowd and go, hey, that's Jack from the podcast, AskPiesNation?
I never think that, but it has happened a couple of times at games. I'm sure you boys have experienced that as well, where someone goes, "Oh, hey, are you from the podcast?" Which is a great thrill. I won't lie. It's
being
huge.
a D-grade celebrity is wonderful.
Yeah, it's great. But coupled with that, I've got no idea how to react to that.
What do you say?
I don't know. Like, what do you say? Like, yes, that's me. And awkward.
Autograph?
Yeah. I hope not. My signature sucks. But no, a really great night at the club. They had all the odd numbers there, so all the players who wear odd numbers on their back, it was their turn, and they said they were doing an even number one in June or July. So if you're a Collingwood member, look out for that email. But if definitely worth getting down. Open bar, good food.
Did you wear your jumper?
Craig, no, I didn't wear a jersey.
You look very formal in your photos.
Yeah, Craig Kelly got up and did a speech.
Oh, nice,
Spoke on a few issues. One being the club's sort of openness around the booing saga with Buddy Franklin, which I thought was an interesting take. It was, so often as fans, we're seeing this through news outlets, and to have it straight from the CEO of the Collingwood Football Club was, an interesting experience. And, really good. Might do it again.
Very good. Well, that's going to do it for this week's
You
episode.
invite us next time, didn't you?
Yeah, we'll.
Didn't miss
Sort it
the
out.
invite in the mail
Live episode.
Oh.
With Magpies.
Start getting a mic around. Yeah, that go well. Let's hope we're all smiling this much next week when we win by 15 goals. But until then, Jack, Luke, Marcus, thanks, boys. Great to have the four-man pod back.
Wonderful to be back, boys.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I've been your host, Nicholas Sacco. You've been listening to the Pies Nation podcast, where the pies are hot and the drinks are cold.